Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm your host, John Pollock, with John Ramdeen joining me in a few minutes as we'll go through today's headlines. As filming for Tough 22 has begun, we're going to hear from one of the coaches. Frank Mir gets a nice purse for last Wednesday's bout, and a UFC star is set to spend 24 hours in jail. Nick Diaz has pleaded no contest to a DUI charge, and by making a plea deal, the prosecution will throw out 3 additional charges against Diaz, including a second DUI offense. Diaz was charged in November of 2013 and September of 2014 with driving under the influence with an alcohol or drug level above the legal limit in the state of California. TMZ Sports reported that Diaz was sentenced to 2 days in jail, but was given credit for a day already served and will now spend 1 day in jail. MixedMartialArts.com recently caught up with Uriah Faber to chat about the ongoing filming for Tough 22, with Faber coaching alongside Conor McGregor. After only a week of filming, the two already got into another altercation, as Faber explains.
It's been in the works for weeks before the fight because, he was supposed to fight Aldo, and he was either going to coach against myself or Chad Mendes. So when Chad stepped in, I was the guy left standing, and so that was always kind of the plan. That was just completely off the cuff, and it was like, I don't even know what it was. I talked to Conor about it too. I'm like, what was that? He's like, I don't know. Yeah. Started out kind of playing, and it turned into what it was, and that's exactly it. And that happened again. A couple of days ago. They didn't have any cameras on us. Yeah. Well, we're giving each other crap, and next thing you know, we're testing each other a little bit, and then we're like manhandling each other, and always ends up with him getting pissed off. He likes him until the end when he's getting manhandled. Then he doesn't like it. But no, the last one was kind of funny. His guy Tom had to come in and be like, all right, guys, let's break it up. But I feel like it was, all in good fun for the most part. Yeah. We both like to fight. I mean, that's what we do. I think the only reason he's where he is because, because of his mentality, and that's what guys like myself and Chad Mendes and Jose Aldo and, TJ Dillashaw, I mean, he's got a championship mentality, and I can appreciate that. But is he a little much? Is he a little full of himself? I mean, look, I know a lot of wealthy guys, and he's really not a wealthy guy yet. I mean, he went from wanting it so bad to pretending to starting to get a little bit of it, but like, settle down, bro. You got plenty of time. In California, we should work our whole lives to not wear a suit. The goal is to be able to chill out and not wear a suit, but no, he's I like the guy somewhat.
And purse numbers have been released for last Wednesday night's UFC Fight Night card in San Diego. Frank Mir topped the list with $200,000 for his knockout victory in the main event over Todd Duffy, who netted $12,000 on the purse listings, and Mir also took home a $50,000 performance bonus. This Saturday, we will be back with a live pre-fight show at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, counting down to the UFC's return to Chicago and the rematch between TJ Dillashaw and Renan Barão for the bantamweight title. 4 fights coming your way on the main card in Canada on CTV2. And I'm here with John Ramdeen, the two of us just going tag team all week long. Let's chat first about Nick Diaz here. TMZ Sports reported this first, that he has made a plea deal. He's going to spend a day in jail.
What's the point? Why spend a day in jail? Like, why even make this guy go to jail for 1 day?
Well, hey, you had 2 DUIs, 2 charges you were facing to be able to get a day of jail. I mean, lawyer doing his job there, I guess.
I just can't believe this. Like, to me, that's messed up. I love Nick Diaz. As a professional athlete, as a fighter, I always want to tune in, watch this guy, because you always get your money when it comes to Nick Diaz. But seriously, you're going to do a day in jail for a couple of DUI charges? Things are messed up, legally speaking. If that's all, that is less than a slap on the wrist if you're only doing it 1 day in jail.
I'm with you. I think as a whole in society, DUIs are kind of just thrown to the side. It's like, to me, that's a serious charge, and there's 2 of them. Nonetheless, when you look at the long term with Nick Diaz, fighting-wise, I mean, what do you see for this guy? Do you see ultimately the day comes, as it always has, where, okay, I'm ready to fight again? I mean, what is going to be next for Nick Diaz fighting-wise?
No, 100%. Nick Diaz, much like Dan Henderson, these are going to be 2 guys that are going to be able to fight into their 40s. And Nick Diaz is such a persona. He's a lifelong martial artist, and now he's a prize fighter. When we were in Las Vegas, Wayne and I were talking to Joseph Benavidez, and I was actually stunned because I asked him about the future, and he's like, oh, when I'm done with MMA, I'm never training in MMA ever again. There's no fight training for me. I'm going to go on to the next endeavor. For Nick Diaz, this is what he does. He's a martial artist, and he gets paid to fight. And I think that whether it's the UFC, whether it's Bellator, whether it's one championship, or whether it's something else, Nick Diaz, when he's able to, based on athletic commissions, he will be fighting for money, and I think he'll be fine. I think he's made enough money that it can keep him coasting for the next little while. He'll probably disagree, but I'm sure he's okay.
Speaking of some nice coin, Frank Mir made a sizable amount of it for a minute 13 of seconds work on Wednesday night last week. You weren't here last week coming off of that particular heavyweight bout. Where did Frank Mir fit in now? Now, all of a sudden, 2 wins in a row. Yeah. So this guy who everyone was kind of looking at after those 4 consecutive losses, it's like, what's next for him? Now he's on a bit of a roll.
Yeah, everybody except for Fight Network. Because if you remember, we were talking about the fact is it depends on what type of performance Frank Mir has in that fight with Bigfoot and his last fight. And now with these 2 wins, nobody's talking about Frank Mir retiring. The media was saying, oh, you know, this is a loser leave town match, and that's just not the case. Frank Mir is a personality. You have the storyline, and just to think about matchups with Frank Mir against Josh Barnett, former UFC heavyweight champion, Andrei Arlovsky.
Is it similar to Michael Bisping that we were talking about? Guys that they're certainly marketable fighters that still have a very respectable skill set, but let's not throw them into the deep end of their division.
That's it. That's exactly it. I'm sure Josh Barnett will 100% disagree with us and say that, no, I'd be more than happy to face off with Fabrizio Verdum, and I'll do what I did to Dean Lister, and I'll tap out the jiu-jitsu champion. So I think that it depends on who the athlete is. I think Frank Mir will take the opportunity. If the UFC says, hey, you know, we're going to give you a shot against the champion for the title, he'll take it. But I think what makes the most sense is to have him face off against other interesting heavyweights. You can sell Frank Mir as a main event, which he's proven time and again.
Quick thought here. We heard from Uriah Faber. You hear about this back and forth with them. Does this season of Ultimate Fighter have your interest?
You know what? The past seasons haven't, but Connor is the man right now, and Uriah Faber is always creating interest. And you know that if at the end of things there is a potential to see these guys fight, I'm in.
All right. He is John Ramdeen. Lots of discussion coming up later this week as we count down to the UFC's Fox card in Chicago. For now, though, we have more Fight News Now Extra. Stay tuned.